was 40 years. So today I have my special guest. She is the author of the book Perspective is Power, no other than Liz Bursten.
Hi,
Well,
Daniel. Thanks for having me.
welcome to Book 101, Miss Liz. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yes. Thanks again for having me, Daniel. Hi, everyone. My name is Liz Bursten. I am a debut author, first time book, just hit Amazon on June 24th. So we're really excited to just kind of get things off the ground. And I live in Cedarburg, Wisconsin. That's home for me. I have three young children. As you can tell from the cover of my book, I am an amputee. So I strive to live a very active lifestyle. And finally, I have put my story into words so that others can read it and hopefully learn from it and draw some inspiration.
Miss Liz Bursten, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world and hoping for more and more empowering books like this to come. What inspired you to write Perspective is Power on overcoming adversity and embracing a life without
Yeah,
limits?
so the story, not to have a spoiler here, but the story starts when I was in a devastating car accident when I was 16.
Oh, wow. So, how did you come up with the core idea that perspective is a powerful tool for overcoming adversity?
Yes. So I chose to write the book because when I was going through my struggles at a very young age, I drew inspiration from reading other people's stories and watching documentaries and following people on social media. And I was fascinated by the power of the human spirit and how one can overcome such challenges and adversity and really thrive in life and kind of use that to their advantage. So when I sat down to write my story, this was my common theme over and over. It's about mindset. It's about perspective. It's all in your head. It's your mind. It's your choice. No matter which cards you're dealt, you can live a triumphant life. So that's really what I chose to focus on when sharing my story.
Miss Liz, can you share a personal story from the book where a shift in perspective transformed a challenging situation for you?
Sure. So, about 9 years after my accident, I lost my leg. So we held on to it for 9 years, and I wasn't walking most of that time as a young adult. So when I chose to amputate my leg, it was completely in my hands. I asked my doctors, I advocated for myself, and it was a challenging decision that I actually took into my own hands and sought the medical professionals to support me. And I was worried about what that would do to me, what it would do to my mentality. And from the moment I woke up from my amputation, I was fueled and empowered to do every single thing I could every single day to get the most out of my life. So when I was out one leg, I didn't have my prosthetic yet. I was working very hard at sharpening my mental strength, thinking about ways I could come back better and stronger, and equipping myself for any other challenges that may come my way in the future. And perspective played a huge role in that.
What does embracing a life without limits means to you, and how does the book guide readers towards this mindset?
Sorry, could you repeat? It broke up a bit on my side.
What does embracing life without limits mean to you, and how does the book guide readers towards this mindset?
Yes, sure. So a life without limits means for me, truly you can do anything you set your mind to. You have physical limitations or things in your way or circumstances. There's always a way around. And maybe what you were seeking to do, what the outcome you wanted isn't what you get, but you get something greater, you get something better, you still get that fulfillment. So kind of that encouragement to just always pursue. You hear the word no, doctors tell you no, people tell you no. Um, Find another way, find another avenue to still seek that fulfillment that you're looking for. Now, readers can gather this mindset from the book. Actually, at the end of each chapter, there's a self help exercise or a tool that you can use and apply to your own life. So it's a lot of journaling prompts, a lot of self reflective tools. But essentially, if you walk through each of those in the chapters, it'll kind of transform your thinking. And you can use them in big ways and small ways if you're working towards large goals, a big problem, or a small problem. So I hope that these exercises really resonate with readers. And there's particularly one exercise that's called shattering your limiting beliefs. So that guides you through identifying what is it that you tell yourself, where you limit yourself, and how can you overcome that, and what do you need to do, what steps do you need to take to have a limitless mindset and get past those limitations we put upon ourselves.
Miss Liz, the title emphasizes perspective is power. Can you explain how perspective shapes one's ability to navigate life's challenges?
Yes, absolutely. Perspective plays a huge role, right? If you have something unforeseen happen to you, something tragic, it's so easy to focus on what has changed, what you have lost, what's different, what's hard, what's uncomfortable. But if you look at all of those things as there is a light in each of those, and there's a lesson to learn in each of those, and that's the beauty. You're going to come out on the other side when you get through it stronger and a better version of yourself. That is the power of perspective.
The power of perspective, indeed. What are some key strategies from the book for reframing adversity as an opportunity for growth?
Sure. So again, just to touch on one of my exercises, there's a particular exercise that tells you to take kind of your problem statements or maybe complaints or negative things about your life and reframe them and rewrite them into future state positive statements, and it kind of shifts into goal setting and mindset. So you take your problems, and rather than saying, I my leg hurts all the time, I can't walk, that's a complaint, right? You rewrite that and say, I'm having some limitations, but I will find a way around it. I will find a way to get past this. And then you start shifting into that mindset and propelling yourself into being solution oriented rather than being stuck on your problem or the thing that is difficult for you.
How does the book differentiate itself from other self help or resilience focused books like The Power of Resilience or Option B?
Yes. So something I really tried to do with my book was to keep it short and sweet. I think a lot of times when people, my target audience, I am thinking people that are going through adversity, particularly people that had a trauma that changed everything in their life. But then again, it can apply to people who are just seeking change and seeking improvement. But when I think about that target audience of somebody that has just gone through a trauma and they pick up my book to read it, I don't want it to be overwhelming. I want it to be interesting. I want it to be easy for them to read. So I was very calculated and careful with how I crafted my message, how I wrote my chapters, that they're shorter, but they dig deep. They give you some raw insight and material and things that I've been through. And constantly it's pulling through some advice pieces and things that make you reflect on your own journey. And as I mentioned, the exercises at the end of each chapter, I know that's kind of a common theme in some self-help books too, right? But I think the exercises, again, draw your own experience to the surface. So you're not spending too much time thinking about me. Maybe when you're reading my story, you're being inspired or you're correlating your own experiences to what I'm talking about. But then you get to pull it all back to yourself by performing the journaling exercise at the end. And the biggest feedback I've received from my readers so far is many people will sit down and read it within 1 or 2 days, and some people even within one sitting because they just couldn't put the book down. And that's what I absolutely love because that means the reader is receiving the message in its entirety. And that was my goal.
Well, truly, truly a compelling book, Miss Liz. So, can you share an example for the book of someone who overcomes significant adversity by changing their perspective?
Yes. So there is a particular chapter in the book where everything wasn't all sunshine and beautiful. So there was a bit of a time where I was in a downward spiral. So I go through that in the book. I was feeding myself negative thoughts. I was feeling sorry for myself. I was getting stuck again on all of that, the things I didn't have. And oh, I would be better if this didn't happen to me. I would be better if I could walk, if I didn't have surgery all the time. And I kind of let myself fall into that, right? So perspective was undoubtedly working against me. I was using a negative perspective, and I was making negative choices and creating a positive light, positive or a negative life, and ultimately that led to a suicide attempt, which I'm very thankful was unsuccessful. And when I kind of woke up from that and hit rock bottom, it was only up from there, and it was very challenging. But I went through probably about 2 years of experiencing what that negative perspective feels like. And I'll touch on one kind of excerpt that I put into my book that I love. I saw this on a painting when I was on vacation one time. It's like an old tale that a Cherokee man told his grandson, and he talks about a tale of two wolves, and he says there are two wolves inside of all of us. One of them is evil and one of them is good, and one of them is jealous and angry and spiteful and is a victim, and the other is joyful and grateful and happy. And the grandson asks his grandfather, well, which of the wolves will win? The grandfather simply says, whichever one you feed. So that's so true in our lives. If we're feeding the negative thoughts and the negative things in our life, that's going to take over. But if we're feeding the good things and the positivity and the small victories and the small wins, that is what will prevail. So I learned that from firsthand experience.
Interesting indeed. Miss Liz, beautifully articulated. Well said. What role does community or support systems play in the book's approach to overcoming adversity?
Sorry, repeat again. You're asking about my support system and my community?
Yes. What role
Yes.
does community or support
Oh,
system
what
plays
role?
in the book's approach to overcoming
Yes.
adversity?
Absolutely. It plays a huge role. I mean, as I mentioned, there's a lot of self reflection, a lot of things you can do internally. But I will say from experience, if you're not speaking out loud what you're going through, if you're not sharing the progress you're trying to make and sharing your goals with at least one person in your life, you don't have that accountability partner. You don't have somebody holding you accountable. And it's easy for you to just quickly change direction and forget what you were working towards. So I would say support system, community, even just one person in your life plays a pivotal role in your success and overcoming adversity and ultimately applying the tools in my book.
Definitely. And the subtitle mentions a life without limits. How do you address the fear of failure of self imposed limitations in the book?
Yes. So, again, that all comes back to mindset. If you have to change course now, and I'll give you an example. So I competed in my first marathon 2 years ago, and I vowed every year I will run at least a half marathon. It's a pretty digestible, easy goal for me. I have 3 young children, as I said, so it's hard to devote my whole life to running multiple marathons. So I'm like, I can do half marathons and maybe drop a few marathons in here and there. And I'm very goal oriented, if you can't tell. But I I had this goal, and in my second year in, I had to pull out and I couldn't run the half marathon because I had been having some issues with my prosthetic. And we couldn't address. I need to surgically intervene to fix the issue I'm having. So the stubborn side of myself that wanted to achieve the goal really wanted to train and run anyways, even though I knew it wasn't best for me. Just to follow through on my commitment and say I was going to do this. I was signed up.
Mm,
I had spoken out loud that I was going to go to the race, cheer on my husband and my friends. We were all going to be running in it together, my sister. So it was a humbling experience to know I wasn't meeting the mark in something I said I was going to do. But for me, again, it came back to perspective and mindset. And I looked at that experience as it was still a win for me because I was there with a smile on my face, cheering on the ones I loved. My kids were very happy I wasn't running in it because I got to be with them the whole time. And ultimately, I was making a choice to take care of myself. So that was a very real limitation. I had to work through it mentally. But at the end of the day, I felt very accomplished with what I chose to do.
And how does the book incorporate concepts like empathy or self discovery, are often tied to adversity? Miss
Yes,
Liz?
the value of humility and what a large role that has played. And anybody who's gone through any sort of physical challenges or health challenges where your body doesn't do what it used to do, or you really need to rely on other people. So I touch a lot on that, and you kind of look at that as a strength and not something to feel sorry for yourself. And there's such beauty in that, and as you say, empathy, right? And how you think about others and how you feel for others, and when others are going through pain or having challenges, you just have this superpower of empathy, I feel, because of experiences that you've had. And it's a great way to pay it forward and kind of use that pain in a positive way.
Yes, indeed. And Miss Liz, as an author, what are your short term and long term goals?
Yes. So, to be honest, my first goal was to write this book. I do think there may be another in my future. There are some pieces of my story that are not included. And life is ever changing, so I would love to see where this takes me, but right now I'm really just looking forward to creating a ripple effect with my message, and seeing how many people I can impact from this. I'm very interested in continuing to launch my motivational speaking career, so I hope to be able to get in front of large audiences, young adults, even teenagers, any adult, any person, man, woman, share my story, kind of spread this message that we can use perspective in our favor to live our best lives.
Yes. Good luck to your goals, Miss Liz, and looking
Thank you.
forward for more success. And what would be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be authors like you?
Yes, I say just go for it. Put pen to paper. Again, that accountability piece. Share with somebody what you're working on, and don't be afraid. For me, for years I wanted to write a book and I dismissed it. I thought, I know so many people that are going through so many more things than I am, have harder challenges, and are accomplishing way more badass things than I am doing. So what's my story? Who cares about my story, right? I kind of belittled it for a while. But as soon as I started my work and started sharing with my network and my community, the ripple effect has been incredible. And it's not about sizing up your story next to somebody else's. We all have a story to share. We all have challenges. We all have triumphs. Let's recognize that. Let's celebrate that, and let's share it. So I encourage anybody that has a thought to share your story to just do it, and you will be so glad that you did.
Just do it, people. Stop procrastinating. And you have the passion to write, and share to the world. And thank you for that advice, Miss Liz. And can you please recommend the books that influence your journey or book that influence your journey?
Yes, one absolute standout to me, it's called On My Own 2 Feet by Amy Purdy. So Amy Purdy is a double amputee below the knee, just like me, but she's missing both of her legs, lost her legs to meningitis, ultimately went on to become a Paralympian multi-time medalist in the Paralympics for snowboarding. Her and I actually she attended the same prosthetic facility that I attend. So there's an interesting connection there. But I really am inspired by her mindset, and kind of really, she talks about what happened to her and she lost her legs led to a life that she would not have if she didn't lose her legs. So it's like that was very purposeful for her and her path and her journey. And I really look up to her, admire her. A beautifully written book, beautiful. I believe it's a New York Times bestseller, and she's really somebody I look up to. So I highly recommend her book.
Yes, indeed. And thank you for that recommendation, Ms. Liz. And for the readers or viewers or listeners on Book 101 Review, how can they apply the book's lessons to their personal or professional lives?
Yes. Again, completing the exercises can help. There are some great goal setting pieces you can use personally or professionally. One of my favorite exercises is in the last chapter. It's called a 30-day challenge. So personally, I've done these 30-day challenges with personal things like fitness goals. I've also done them in my work to change kind of the way I spend my time, and how much time I spend on emails versus my meetings versus actually executing my tasks. So you can apply a lot of these things personally and professionally.
Definitely. And how do you hope Perspective is Power inspires readers to take action in the face of their own challenges?
Yes, I really hope, of course, that my message resonates with the readers, and people can kind of have some aha moments and see, maybe shift their mindset and have this be the help that they need. But I also hope that it just has a lasting impact and it does that transformation more than just getting somebody through what they're struggling, that they adopt and absorb all of these mindset lessons that are highlighted in the book, just as I have, right? So when you adapt, when you're going through challenges, don't let go of those great pieces of yourself that you're digging into to fight. Let those things rise to the surface and shine in all that you do. Um, when you get back to your life and your life is easier than it was when you were facing your challenges, just to always remember what you had deep within yourself and apply those tools and that mindset and the kindness and the humility and the empathy. I really hope that that leaves a lasting impact on my readers.
Definitely. And Ms. Liz, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in its fifth season too. Comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in its fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love Letters in third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. Miss Liz, what's one key takeaway you want listeners or viewers to remember from Perspective is Power about living a life without limits?
Yes. The key takeaway again, everybody has a story. Embrace yours, tap into yours, share what you've learned with others. And of course, always remember that your mind is a powerful thing. What you tell yourself is what you will have. And if you always keep the most positive perspective and keep that in mind, amazing things will happen and anything is possible.
Yes, indeed. Amazing, amazing. Just tell to yourself, I'm the head, not the tail. I'm a victor, not a victim. And I'll be mighty on the land. It will really empowers you. Like Miss Liz Bursten. So, Miss Liz, thank you so much for sharing your book to the world. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your book itself?
Yes, absolutely. And I'll be sure to check out your other podcasts as well. I appreciate you having me on. So thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Likewise. So, where do people buy your book?
Right now I'm on Amazon. So check out Amazon paperback, hardcover. My ebook is going live on July 28th, and then an audiobook coming shortly after as well. So be sure to check me out on Amazon.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Liz Bursten, because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Miss Liz, thank you so much for your time. More to come, people. See you.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come, people. See you soon.
All right. Thank you very much.